Welcome to the Advice Show, media with a common sense approach. So there was a doctor here in the Houston area by the name of Dr. Tamika Cross. Now, she was on a flight, a Delta Airlines flight, and she was coming back to Houston. Now, a person had a medical emergency, and you would think, well, hey, if they asked for a doctor and a person raised their hand, then they would tend to this person with a medical emergency. But oh no, this is not what happened to Dr. Tamika Cross. So let's go on and read the Facebook post that she put up that's been shared over 30,000 times. So she stayed here. I'm sure many of my fellow young corporate America working women of color can understand my frustration when I say I'm sick of being disrespected. Was on Delta flight DL945 and someone 2 rows in front of me was screaming for help. Her husband was unresponsive. I naturally jumped into doctor mode as no one else was getting up, unbuckled my seatbelt and throw my tray table up. And as I'm about to stand up, flight attendant says, "Everyone stay calm. It's just a night terror. He's all right." I continue to watch the scene closely. A couple of minutes later, he is unresponsive again, and the flight attendant yells, "Call overhead for a physician on board." I raised my hand to grab her attention. She said to me, "Oh no, sweetie, put your hand down. We're looking for actual physicians or nurses or some type of medical personnel. We don't have time to talk to you." I tried to inform her that I was a physician, but I was continually cut off by condescending remarks. Let's stop right there for a minute. Now, what is it about her that says I'm not a physician? Why did she tell her to put her hand down? But see, this is what black people go through. It don't matter how professional you are, even if you got an Ivy League education. It is in the fabric of this nation to discredit black people no matter what, to disqualify you no matter what, to look down upon you no matter what. This constantly happens. As black people, we always got to fight 2 times harder, be 2 times more educated, be 2 times more better than our white counterparts in this country. But continuing. Then overhead, they page, "Any physician on board, please press your button." I stare at her as I go to press my button. She said, "Oh, wow, you're an actual physician?" I replied, "Yes." She said, "Let me see your credentials. What type of doctor are you? Where do you work? Why were you in Detroit?" Please remember, this man is still in need of help, and she is blocking my road from even standing up while bombarding me with questions. I respond, "OBGYN, work in Houston, in Detroit for a wedding, but believe it or not, they do have doctors in Detroit. Now, excuse me so I can help the man in need." Another seasoned white male approaches the row and says he is a physician as well. She says to me, "Thanks for your help, but he can help us, and he has his credentials." Mind you, he hasn't shown anything to her, just showed up and fit the description of a doctor. I stay seated, mind blown, blood boiling. Man's responding, I guess she meant to put to his questions, and is seemingly better now, thank God. Then this heifer has the nerve to ask for my input on what to do next 10 minutes later. I tell her we need vitals and blood sugar. She comes back to report to me a blood pressure of 80 over 50, super low to my non-medical peeps. And they can't find a glucometer. We continue down that path of medical workup. But the point is, she needed my help, and I continued to help despite the choice words I had saved up for her. The patient and his wife weren't the problem. They needed help, and we were in mid-flight. She came and apologized to me several times and offered me sky miles. I kindly refused. This is going higher than her. I don't want sky miles in exchange for blatant discrimination. Whether this was race, age, gender discrimination is not right. She would not get away with this, and I would still get my sky miles. Definitely disrespect, definitely questioning her. Of course, when you're a black person, you got to be questioned 80 million times. But the white man stood up. She didn't go question him. "Are you a doctor? Where's your paper? What you doing?" Like, why is she questioning her like a police officer? "What you doing in Detroit?" Does it matter what she doing in Detroit? Now, all this questioning, as she said, while this person is having a medical emergency. But you gonna sit up here and treat this black woman this way because you can't believe this black woman is a doctor. Like, they got black people that graduate medical school every semester. I know good and well you should know that. And if you don't know that, you need to get outside of your little area where you live, because there's black doctors all over the place. But this woman was very upset. Now, I reached out to her and see if maybe we could do an interview, but she really is not responding to anybody. Even the local media has reached out. They said the same thing. But this is the thing. We constantly see this stuff as you grow up in the professional world. You always looked upon and discredited, no matter how good you are as a black person. This is why when we talk about business creation, the only freedom that we have is businesses, because we won't have to deal with this. But with this situation, with this woman just being blatantly discriminatory, that person could have died. They needed this woman help from the beginning. And if I was that patient and I heard this happen, I would sue Delta Airlines, because it was like, wait a minute, you had a doctor that can help me and you holding her up, but you let this other guy that say he's a doctor come up and he couldn't fully help me. Oh no, it'd have been a problem if I was that person that got sick, because they worrying about some stupidity when it's a life or death situation and they in mid-flight. You know, Delta Airlines need to fire that woman. They really do. There should be no questions asked. When it's a life or death situation, we don't got time for you playing discrimination or your white supremacy or whatever else you want to play. We don't really know, but that was not the time to do it. You know, this stuff is sickening. And that's also another story I need to cover, what happened to a professional black woman in Seattle, because that was messed up. But what do you guys think about this story? I mean, I understand why she was very upset. You know, for someone to discredit all your work and discredit your practice and everything just because they think in their mind, well, you're black and you don't look like a doctor. What a doctor look like? Because I didn't know they had a certain look about them. I didn't even know, you know, because this stuff is stupid. Share the video. Let people know what happened to this sister that's right here in Houston. It doesn't make a bit of sense. Even if you go to medical school, you still being discredited. Like the video if you like the commentary. Subscribe for more news stories.